So, today was a very easy day. 140 for 5 on the squat, and then a bit of back work like I showed you the other day with barbell rowing and dumbbell rowing. And that's all I've got today. Just pumping, fluff, trying not to just move the weight, but trying to connect with the muscle, which is a completely different mindset to training. Essentially bodybuilding, not just heaving weight up, because I know when I heave weight up, it's not going to be as productive as I want it to be, because I'm trying to target a certain area, trying to get that upper back, not to freak out under the squat. As I was doing this, I checked in with yesterday's video, and I saw the video that I read yesterday got 94 likes, and it was by Jonathan Indovino, who wrote, "People who said you don't train hard enough are deluded." 94 people gave that a thumbs up, which kind of made me think, some of the guys that came out and said that, my previous back session, like one of these sessions, so 3 days ago, they popped up and they said, "Ivan, you don't train hard enough. There's nowhere near the intensity you should be training with the rows. Why are you not training hard enough?" And obviously I disagreed with them, and I explained to them the background of the training program and how difficult it was to do an AMRAP set one day and the next day to also go crazy on rows. And the definition, in my opinion, the definition of accessory work and the definition of primary work. Squatting is my primary work. This is accessory work. And so I felt like the guys that criticized me have kind of misinterpreted what I was doing. These exercises, the barbell rows and the dumbbell rows, are an accessory lift to me. Anyway, after releasing that video and talking about it and discussing it, and the fellas that kind of said that about me not training hard enough, I kind of realized after talking some more to them, I realized they were coming from a good spot. They were not trying to troll or whatever. A lot of them, maybe some, but a lot of them were like, this is my opinion, this is where I'm coming from. And it kind of got me thinking, I think a lot of us have this natural, I think it's human nature, you have this natural tendency to kind of see something, and if it's not going well or to your expectation, to kind of try and give your advice because you've deemed it not going well. And so you give your advice, hoping that that person will take that on board and get success. But obviously, as I've said this in the past, all of this training business that we talk about, it's not a hard science. It's very much a soft science, in the sense that there's a lot of subjectivity to it, there's a lot of variation, there's a lot of different paths to the same goal. This is not physics, it's not mathematics. This is very much so many different methods have worked for this. And so I think this is the basis of all of our discussions, and some channels go even hostile when it comes to discussing some of these topics, and frankly that turns me off completely when people become hostile, because there's so much variation and possibilities how to get to the same goal. And you don't need to be a freaking historian to realize that, how many different types of routes people have taken to get to similar results. So when people get hostile, it just turns me off, and I always think to myself, what's with the hostility, man? Just relax and let's just have an intellectual discussion about some of this stuff. And so, when I realized these boys were kind of like, coming from a good place, I kind of, realized that maybe they didn't fully understand where I was coming from and what was going on. And then, yesterday when I said that PR, the 180 for 13, people were kind of saying, where are these people now who are doubting the process and whatnot. And I don't need to kind of rub it in their face or like show it. I don't want any of that. I don't want hostilities. I don't want to say I proved you wrong or whatever. None of that stuff. I genuinely am here for the intellectual stimulation, for the intellectual conversation. I feel like, let's say it's hurtful when somebody says to you that you have no heart. That to me it's not about intellect anymore. Like, you don't train hard enough. I feel like that's hurtful. And I think that's why I reacted the way I did, because, Jesus, man, if you say you don't try hard enough, you know, that's a measure of heart. That's not a measure of how strong you are or the performance of it. It's like either you tried or you didn't try. You know, and ever since a young age, playing basketball and having ambition to become a professional, you know, from the very early onset, it was like, okay, whatever you do, win or lose, man, give you everything on the court. Try your hardest. And so when somebody says to you, you didn't try your hardest, it's kind of like bothers me a little bit. But anyway, the boys kind of went on and they said, you know, IPGI says, hit a new plateau. Only 180 for 13 reps, one set in 3 days. The set dead. So the boys are having a bit of fun. And then how jacked can I get? I remember, I think he was the guy that initiated, or the comment that I responded to. He writes, one guy said he doesn't train hard enough on his accessory work. That is all. And then Ash1988 said, how jacked can I get? Yeah, which was a stupid thing to say. Making comments in isolation, it's like saying Usain Bolt doesn't train hard enough on his 800 meter runs. And then JF3457 says, being lazy on accessories is no joke. T-Mac Rockets 23 says, how jacked can you get? Was more than just one guy. Read the reply comments. And I think there was more than one guy, definitely. I think there was a whole bunch of people with upticks and likes and certain comments who agreed with this statement of Ivan doesn't train hard enough. Which, you know, to this day, I think it was just a matter of people not being aware of what I'm doing. People don't know the latest, I suppose. You know, I think I said to somebody else on Instagram, that they messaged me, and I said to them, it's very hard, or was it YouTube comments? I can't remember. I read a comment where somebody said, I had to skip through the MRAP set because it's really uncomfortable to watch. And I would agree with that, man. Like, watching somebody go through a set of MRAP squats, it's uncomfortable for the viewer as well. Especially when the audio is on, you get the feeling of what's going on. It's hard. And so if you watch one set of me doing MRAP sets, you will understand the difficulty of the set, and you will understand that I'm working hard. And there was a few boys that they kind of commented that, and I kept thinking to myself, maybe they didn't even watch the video. Maybe they didn't watch me do an MRAP set to get the feeling of, yeah, Ivan's working hard. Because I certainly have nothing left after I rack the bar. I certainly feel I'm wrecked. There's nothing I can do beyond that. I can't work any harder. And for me to come back and hit it again, I need to rest. You can't do MRAP sets every day, man. You can't do it. It's impossible. User JI6, so on and so on, says, how jacked can I get? You shouldn't go past RP 8 or 9 on any accessory work, full stop. That goes back to what I was saying earlier. I agree with that. Like, it's an accessory movement. You're not supposed to be spending your central nervous system freaking points dying on an accessory movement. It's an accessory. Sure, I agree with you. You can make the barbell row your primary movement. Sure. The what's it called? The boat rowing Olympic team. I don't know what it's called. The rowers, right? The actual rowers in water. That is their sport. So freaking send it, man. Don't worry about squatting and deadlifting, all that. That is your sport. Use the rowing as your primary lift. Sure, there's no discussions from me about that. You can make it. But my point is, if you're writing a program for yourself, you can't have 5 freaking exercises on there, and every single one is a primary lift. It's not going to work, man. My analogy for basketball the other day, I think it works well. There's one basketball when you're playing basketball. If you have 5 guys that want to shoot 50 shots each, that team is not going to do well. There are roles. There is somebody that plays defense predominantly, that's his role. There's somebody who's the catch and shoot guy. There's somebody who's the 3-and-D guy. There's somebody who's predominantly going to be the primary guy that does all the scoring or the playmaking. When he hits the crunch time, we go through him. Because even if you want to talk about, like, you know, tiki-taka type of basketball or sporting events, if you haven't touched the ball in a while, you're not going to be in flow. You're going to be in rhythm. And rhythm is a real thing in sport. So if we're sharing the ball equally, maybe the synergistic nature of that is not going to be, most beneficial. You know, I know when I played basketball, you know, I always wanted the ball in my hands. That was the kind of guy I was. I wanted to feel it, to dribble it, to run a few screens and then read the game. If I don't touch the ball for 5 or 10 minutes at a time, because I'm running around, you know, I'm very ineffective. So some guys need the ball, some guys don't need the ball. It depends who you are. And this is where the roles come in. Just like for me, my superstar is the squat. So God damn it, the squat is going to get most of the points and most of my effort. I can't make the roll also the primary thing. It's very, very difficult. As soon as you start treating two exercises as a primary, you'll see the conflict between them because you can't recover from everything, man. Especially in an extreme program like I'm doing, you know, squatting every day and freaking treating the squat like it's everything. So, you know, and like user JR6 was saying, you shouldn't go past RP 8 or 9 on any accessory work. I tend to agree with that. My OU, and so on, anyone saying that is dropping an obvious troll comment for sure. This is referring to the original comment, I suppose. And then NH1776 writes, to user J, I wish people use real names. Like this user stuff, you know, how can I read codes? And Ivan rarely seems to reach that level either. Not to mention these MRAP sets are a departure from his normal training intensity. Yeah, without a doubt, it's a, and this is the end of the comment. Of course, it's a departure from a normal intensity because this is the thing. How can you have normal intensity to be MRAP? No. Like you have to freaking pick and choose when you're going to do these MRAP sets, man. Of course, it's not a normal thing. And maybe you're referring to my historical training. But I've been doing this now for 3 months, I want to say. Yeah, probably 3-4 months I've been doing this MRAP business. Something like that. So I've been doing this for a while now. But yeah, historically speaking, before that, this wasn't my norm. I was always the single guy. Clearly moved away from that now. In this training block, you know, I guess it's unfair to judge me on what I did 5 months ago because it's completely different to what I'm doing now. Right now, I'm very, very choosing where I spend my energy. Yes, I'm doing some rowing, but I'm also mindful of the next MRAP set. So I can't go full bonkers. This is why, you know, I'm doing a set of 20 with 50% weight. You know, I'm making sure I'm just feeling exactly where I want to feel it. Sure, I can pull 120 on the bar, man. Like I said the other day. And I can start heaving it. But am I really training my back at that point? My upper back? There's a whole lot of swinging. I'm using the erectors. I'm using the glutes, the hamstrings. All the stuff that's going to get smashed anyway in the MRAP set of the squats. Why am I doing that? Focus on the upper back. That's what I'm, you know, thinking about there. But I think overall, I think when things go right, when things go well for somebody, I don't want to say haters because I don't think these boys were hating. Well, the most of them were not hating. But it's usually you get bad comments when people hit a tough spot. It's really interesting how that happens, right? Like let's say somebody hits a tough spot or like a bump in the road, and then you see the negativity pile on. It's like, God damn, man. This is the last time. This is the last thing I wanted. You being negative on you know, in a moment where I don't need it. But that's kind of natural thing, you know. People quickly forget positive results. But having said all of that, I think the majority of the boys were coming from a good spot. They legit wanted me to do well, and so they thought, Ivan, you got to work hard on these rows. I don't know, for the people that have tried doing AMRAP sets and have tried really going crazy and extreme in training like this, where you give 95% of yourself to one lift, you would understand that you can't. You can't give 100% in the squat and very next exercise give 100% on the row. Impossible. If you can, that shit ain't mathin', man. The math ain't mathin', you know what they say? Those mathematics formulas that you're using, they don't work. You can't get two lots of 100s in 1 to 100. So, but you know, like I said, this is not a hard science. It's a lot of wishy-washy stuff. I'm sure there are people that are more resilient than me. I'm sure there's more genetically gifted people than me. But the way I have found success in the last 3 or 4 weeks, months, it's become from, you know, really, really high working intensity to really, really low working intensity, and then something in between each day, right? So 2 days a week, I'm going absolutely crazy. The other days, I'm very, very measured, and it's been working. So, you know what they say in basketball, man? Winning fixes everything. The moment you hit a PR, it'll make sense. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.